So here we have another full course. Now this one was a little bit hard to see just because of all of the white PVC and the camera angle. Also, this wasn't a course that I ran, so I wasn't real familiar with the particular challenges, but I did study the map so I could get an idea of things. So on this, things look pretty good. I didn't notice anything specific with regard to handling. Even all your blind crosses were done very much on time. For example, all we want to do is cue mental commitment on the right, see that Andy's headed towards it, get the blind cross done before physical commitment. And you can see if we pause right at takeoff, that blind cross is not only done, but you're very nicely off of his line. There were a couple verbals that I thought could have been earlier, but most of the mistakes, it sounds like you worked through on your own. And that's one thing I can generally say about you is as soon as you have an error, as soon as you have a mistake, rarely are you writing in saying, what did I do wrong? But you're typically problem solving, figuring it out, and then going out and working through it. So by the time we see these full courses, they're generally looking pretty nice. I find it very rare that you have a mistake where you don't know what went wrong. So the backside here, just looking at holding the ground, I don't think that for him, that kind of stationary facing him is a great option, although on this one, I didn't come up with any other alternative. It wouldn't have made sense to come all the way out to this wing. You wouldn't have made sense to come here and turn them this way. I mean, you really had nothing but the curl there as an option. So while sometimes those are slower options for him, in general, I thought he handled that one well. And then you had good patience on the rear at the weaves. Now, I do question whether or not you couldn't have gotten up there for a cross. All right, so given his commitment here, if you would have taken off, and like you can see here, you kind of look back and sort of wait on him. If you got up there and did a front or a blind, you may have been able to put him into the weave pulls on your right. I'm not sure that would have been, there would have been much to gain for that as much as just another option to do. Since he did handle the rear cross, the only reason we would say not to do the rear cross or look at alternatives is if when doing the rear cross, you felt his speed slowed down as a result. So for a lot of dogs, because they pull back and they hang back, the handlers pull back and hang back as the dog goes into the weaves, the dog then weaves slower. In this case, it didn't seem like his speed was adjusted, but I didn't put a clock on it. And then right here, I thought your throttle at the end was a little bit late. All right, so if we look at he takes off, then you start that bending over, which means that that's when you're probably giving the verbal and starting the body cues for this. It's a soft throttle, but a throttle nonetheless. That should have been given on the approach. So you want him to know before he takes off for that jump that he's going to be throttling. You don't want him to land and then be saying, oh, hey, by the way, come over and take this side of that jump. So work on staying upright, giving that shoulder rotation before commitment to the preceding jump, giving that verbal before commitment to the preceding jump. Otherwise, this looked really nice. Now, coming back through and looking at a few of the mistakes that you had, everything appeared to be exactly what you mentioned, which was here you fell so far behind that Andy kind of went, where are you? What are you doing? It was a very extreme rear cross, and then you weren't talking to him. So try to be moving in quicker. Right now, move and run up that line. You can see you hung way back, and I think you just fell out of his field of vision, and he questioned it. So make sure you support. And then on this one, same thing. I think you were trying to rush over for the blind out of the tunnel. You can see you didn't even really step in towards that jump. If we follow your motion came around and hugged towards the tunnel. All right, so you stayed and you actually kind of started hugging over with the red tunnel, almost as though this line here trying to keep him off of that off-course jump out there. So I think, you were just a little bit shy on taking those extra steps you needed for the jump. And then here, I'm trying to remember what happened on this one. I think is something with the throttle. Let me see if I can see what happens. Again, a little bit late on trying to recall him in, and it looks like he goes to the backside. So notice that he commits, and you're still facing forward. You got to give a little bit of that shoulder rotation outside arm, and again, make sure that verbal is happening prior to commitment. I want my dog to take off for a jump, knowing where they're going next, not landing and then getting information about it.